as I'm filming this, we are exactly 8 weeks away from the release of Stellarloon, Book 9 of Keeper of the Lost Cities, and you can see my countdown chain right here. No, I'm not obsessed, why do you ask? But for today, I thought I would do a Keeper of the Lost Cities themed video, and I'm going to be making a tier list. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically you take a bunch of different things and you have tiers, like the top tier, like this one's like the best out of all of them, and then the bottom tier, which is like the worst, obviously, and so you rank them on different levels in the middle. And so I'm going to be making a tier list for all of the books in Keeper of the Lost Cities, and shout out to KOTLC Fanbase, who is a YouTube channel that made this list, and they're one of my favorite channels for Keeper of the Lost Cities content while I wait for the new book. So check them out if you love Keeper of the Lost Cities, they're amazing. But anyways, I'm going to be making a tier list for Keeper of the Lost Cities books. So I hope you enjoy. Ranking for all the Keeper of the Lost Cities books, and so I have all of those right here, and so we have our different tiers. At the very bottom we have 400 pages of Healing Center, so that is like the lowest quality. Then we have boring, meh, enjoyable, and riveting. And before I start, I just want to say, obviously this is like one of my favorite series in the world, so if it were going up against like other books, I would put these all in riveting probably. But this is like my comparison with rankings to each other. Like they're not all going to be put in riveting because that would be a super boring video. But I do love all these books, but it's just like relative to one another. So with that little disclaimer out of the way, so first we have the first book, so Keeper of the Lost Cities. And this is like the original. Like, this is obviously, if I recommend this series to anyone, this is what they're going to start with. So if you don't like this book, then you're probably not going to like the rest of the series. I do think that it gets more exciting as the series goes on, so you should stick with it. But this one is a solid enjoyable. Like, I feel like I can't really rank it much lower than that because it pulls you right into the world. You have like Fitz introducing Sophie to the world and her going to meet all the new people and going to Foxfire and meeting all these new characters, and it's just a really great book. So then we have Exile, the next one. And I read these so quickly together, sometimes I have to remember exactly what happens in each book. So, oh yeah, and I will say there won't be any spoilers in this video. Like, I kind of gave some for like the first book, but if you haven't read all the books, you can comfortably watch this video without there being any spoilers. So in Exile, we have, let's see, it's like she's been in the Lost Cities for a while and like starting to get more involved with like the Black Swan and everything. This one has like a lot of mystery to it, but not a whole lot of action except for like the end. So I'm gonna put this, deciding between two. I think it's so hard for me to put these in like the low categories because I love all these books so much, but relative to the other books, I'm gonna put this one in boring. Like, I wasn't like falling asleep during it, but compared to other ones, there are some stretches that aren't as exciting as other stretches. Okay, then we have Everblaze. That's an interesting one. That's the one where it kind of like the action really starts ramping up. There's like a couple of incredible battle scenes in this one. So this one is either going to be riveting or enjoyable. But I'm going to put this in enjoyable, but I'm going to put it slightly higher than the first one because this one is just, like there's some amazing betrayals and battle scenes and tragic deaths, and it's just incredible, but not quite to riveting level. So then we have Never Seen, which I know it's like one of the universal favorites of this series. It's not my top favorite. It used to be, but as I thought more about the books, I realized there's one that surpasses it, but it's definitely my second favorite. So this is going to have to go in riveting. It's not going to be number one, but it's going to go in riveting. Okay, so then we have Lodestar. Lodestar is like, a lot of people call this like the forgettable book, and I think that's kind of true. And I saw a really great like post talking about why it's so forgettable. I don't remember who wrote it, so I'm sorry, whoever you are. But they said that like it's so forgettable because the plot points in it aren't resolved in that book, or something like that. Like there's a lot of ongoing plot points that are resolved in later books. But I do like Lodestar. I think that it has some really underrated scenes, which that might be a good idea for a video, like underrated scenes. But so I'm gonna put Lodestar in meh because I really like it, but it's not quite as exciting as like Everblaze or Neverseen. So I'm gonna put it in meh. So then we have Nightfall, which is, let's see, that's another kind of forgettable book, if I'm honest. Like it has a lot of really great like pulling plot points together, but it isn't like there's a really great action scene at the end, but in my opinion it's not quite as exciting as some other action scenes. So I'm gonna put this one in boring. Yeah, I'll put this one in boring. Again, it's so hard for me to put any of these in boring because they're such great books. But comparing to like Neverseen and Everblaze, there are some stretches that felt like they drag on for a little while. Then we have Flashback. Flashback, flashback, flashback. I mean, the only place this one can really go is 400 pages of Healing Center, because that's literally what happens. Like, I don't hate this book, obviously, because like I love the whole series, but there was like, it's so hard for me not to spoil, but there were some plot points in this one that weren't my favorite. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But this one, 400 pages of Healing Center is really the best way to describe it. Then we have Legacy. And Legacy contains, like as a writer myself, Legacy contains my favorite scene in the entire series. And I'm not going to say what it is because it's like a major spoiler. But you might be able to figure out what I'm talking about if you read the series. It's just like such great writing. Like it's kind of a revelation, but at the same time you could have figured it out. Like I did figure out what happens here, and it was still like my favorite scene. It's just so well written. Like it combines like tons of little tiny plot points into like one huge revelation that we've been trying to figure out since book 1. And just like the fight at the end and the cliffhanger and all of the different characters that come in. Legacy is my favorite book of the series. And I know that might be like a controversial thing to say, but it is my favorite book in the series. And if Stellar Loon lives up to the level of Legacy, I will adore it as much as I adored Legacy. Then we have Unlocked. And this might be another controversial opinion, but I actually really liked Unlocked. The guide part, I understand why a lot of people found it boring, but I personally liked seeing like an in-depth glimpse into some like characters and parts of the world that we haven't really seen in the book. I was talking with my friend about it, and she said that she would have liked it better if it had been published like after the series was over, and I agree with her on that. But and then once again, I might be biased because I wasn't in like the fandom yet when this book came out. I read all the books in between Unlocked and Stellar Loon, so maybe I don't like know how disappointed people were when this came out. But then there's the guide, but the novella is just so good that I feel like makes up for how boring the guide may have been. Like what I like to describe the Unlocked novella is like it's all like the pain and heartbreak of like a normal Keeper of the Lost Cities book, but just packed into 200 pages, so like you don't really get a break. And it's this book like kind of emotionally wrecked me, so I'm not sure if I'm really prepared for Stellar Loon. But then so you have to like balance the guide versus the novella, and it's kind of obvious to me where, just looking at the list, where I'm gonna put this, but I'm gonna put this in meh as well. Like I know there's a lot of people that would put it in like the lower tiers, but this one, like I feel like it's on par with Lodestar, kind of like that type of level of book within the series. Like I don't really know what I'm saying, but yeah, that's where I'm going to put it. So, to summarize, in riveting, we have Legacy and Never Seen. In enjoyable, we have Everblaze and Keeper of the Lost Cities. In meh, we have Lodestar and Unlocked. In boring, we have Exile and Nightfall. And then in 400 pages of Healing Center, we have the one and only Flashback. So, once again, shout out to KOTLC Fanbase for making this template. Thank you so much for putting it out here so we all can use it. And I'll have a link to their channel in the description in case you want to check them out, which you definitely should. Thank you so much for watching this video. I had such a fun time making it. We only have 8 weeks left to wait before Stellar Moon comes out, and I will definitely be reviewing and talking about that on this channel once it does come out. But for now, I have put a link to this tier list in the description, so if you enjoyed this, you can make your own. And if you disagreed with some of my opinions or agreed with them, let me know down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and tell a friend about the channel. And I will close this out with our bookish quote. We read in bed because reading is halfway between life and dreaming. Anna Quindlen.